Today, we're getting into a story that honestly feels like it was pulled straight out of a Hollywood thriller. It's a ghost story, for sure, but the ghost here isn't rattling chains in an old house. Nah, it's something way more modern, and in some ways, a whole lot scarier. We're talking about the Wirecard Ghost.
Just look at this number for a second. $2.1 billion. It's one of those figures that's so huge it almost doesn't feel real. You could build cities with that kind of money. And for a while, this number was the foundation of a global tech superstar. And then, just like that, poof, it was gone. And right there, that's the big question, isn't it? That's the paradox that completely broke the brains of regulators, investors, and pretty much the entire financial world. See, this wasn't some elaborate heist. This wasn't a simple case of theft. The truth was so much weirder. So let's figure this out together. How can $2.1 billion be absolutely everywhere and totally nowhere all at the same time?
So our story really kicks off at the very end. It starts with this shocking discovery of a massive black hole that opened up right in the middle of one of Europe's most beloved companies. And this wasn't some slow, sad decline. Nope, this was a sudden, catastrophic implosion that sent shockwaves across the globe.
Okay, so for any big company, the yearly audit is, kind of a standard procedure. A big accounting firm, in this case Ernst & Young, comes in and their whole job is to check the books. They follow the paper trail, they verify the bank accounts, and they make sure all the stuff the company says it has, well, that it actually exists. But in June of 2020, they hit a brick wall, a $2.1 billion brick wall. The cash, which was supposedly sitting in accounts in the Philippines, just wasn't there.
And this whole mess gave us a new, kind of chillin' term, phantom money. And it's the perfect way to describe it, right? This wasn't just some creative accounting or, bending the rules a little. This was the financial version of a mirage in the desert. Wirecard's official reports, its stock price, the whole shebang. It was all built on a pile of cash that was nothing more than a ghost in the machine.
And that is the part that is so hard to wrap your head around. I mean, you can understand money getting stolen, right? You can understand a company making a bad investment. But how on earth does a corporate giant, a company on Germany's most prestigious stock index, operate for years with a $2 billion hole in its pocket? To get that, we've got to rewind. We have to go back to a time when Wirecard wasn't a scandal, but a superstar.
Before this whole thing fell apart, Wirecard was the German tech dream. Germany is famous for its incredible engineering. You think of cars, heavy machinery. Wirecard was meant to be the future. It was Germany's answer to Silicon Valley, the digital payments hero that was going to take over the world. And this company, it was more than just a business. It was a real source of national pride. They were processing payments for countless businesses all over the planet, handling all those complicated digital handshakes that happen when you click Buy Now online. They were seen as fast, aggressive, innovative, an absolute darling of the tech world.
What's just wild here is the speed of it all. I mean, it starts in a suburb, grows steadily, but then look at that last stretch. 2018, that was the key moment. Getting into the DAX 30, that's like being added to the Dow Jones in the US. It's the big leagues. And to get in, Wirecard kicked out a 148-year-old bank. The symbolism was huge. The new digital kid was pushing out the old financial guard. At its absolute peak, this company was worth more than Deutsche Bank. Think about it.
And this right here, this is why everyone was so completely hooked. Just look at that growth. Every single year, boom, another incredible jump in revenue. It wasn't just good, it felt almost magical. Investors saw this chart and they saw a rocket ship that was only going up. You weren't just buying a stock, you were buying a piece of the future. And this perfect, unstoppable growth, it became the company's greatest asset. And its biggest lie. But even as that rocket ship was soaring into the stratosphere, there were a few people on the ground shouting that they could see smoke coming from the engine. For years, a small group of critics kept asking some really tough questions. And for years, they were basically told to shut up. The story of the Wirecard fraud is also the story of a whole lot of powerful people deciding not to listen. You had investigative journalists, especially from the Financial Times, and a few brave short sellers. Those are investors who bet on a stock going down. And they were digging and digging. They kept finding things that just didn't look right. And they were met with a wall of silence and even hostility. And this quote just nails it. The critics weren't lost in some complex financial weeds. They were asking the most fundamental question in all of business. Can you just show us the cash? I mean, if you claim you're making billions, that profit has to show up as actual money in a bank account somewhere, right? But with Wirecard, it always seemed to be just out of reach, tied up in some complicated deal on the other side of the world. So how'd they pull it off? How'd they hide it? Okay, let's break it down. The official story was that a huge amount of their profit came from these so-called third-party partners in Asia. Wirecard would say, hey, we can't operate there directly, so we let a local partner use our tech and they pay us a cut. Simple enough. But here's the catch. The suspicion was that these partners were fakes. They were either shell companies run by Wirecard insiders, or they just plain didn't exist. They were literally inventing business just to create a paper trail of revenue that was pure fiction.
For what felt like forever, Wirecard kept all these plates spinning. They used their stellar reputation, their powerful friends, and even lawsuits to shut down anyone who got too close to the truth. But a lie this big is like a house of cards. It might look impressive from a distance, but one little shake, and the whole thing comes tumbling down. And in June 2020, that shake finally came.
And when it fell fast. I mean, breathtakingly fast. This all happened in 1 week. Thursday, June 18th, the bombshell. The auditors say they can't find the money and won't sign the books. The stock tanks. Friday, the CEO, who had sworn up and down for years that everything was fine, he's out. Then Monday, the 22nd, comes the killer blow. The company finally admits it. That money they've been defending, it likely never existed at all. 3 days later, it's game over. Wirecard files for bankruptcy.
99%. That number says it all, doesn't it? In just a few days, Wirecard stock wasn't just down. It was practically wiped off the map. Investors who thought they owned a piece of Europe's bright tech future were left holding shares that were worth basically nothing.
And this really shows you the difference between a company's price and its actual value. The market price for Wirecard was over $25 billion. But its real value, once you took away the phantom money, zero. All of it, the fancy stock index membership, the glowing headlines, that beautiful growth chart, it was all an illusion. The ghost was gone, leaving nothing behind.
So why does this story even matter? It's not just about one bad company in Germany. The collapse of Wirecard is a massive cautionary tale. It has huge lessons for investors, for governments, and really for any of us who've ever wanted to believe a story that just seemed a little too good to be true.
And what's really clear here is that this was a total system failure. This wasn't one person's fault. First, you've got the auditors. For years, they just took the company's word for it, accepting documents instead of doing the basic work of calling the bank to see if the money was actually there. Then you have the regulators in Germany. And this part is just stunning. They actually investigated the journalists who were exposing the fraud while at the same time defending Wirecard. And finally, you have the investors, big and small, who were so in love with the hype and the soaring stock price that they just chose to look the other way.
So what are the big takeaways? Well, first, it shows the danger of falling in love with a national champion. The desire to have a German tech giant was so strong that it created this massive blind spot. Second, it's a huge win for the importance of a free and skeptical press. Seriously, without those reporters asking, where's the money, who knows how long this could have gone on? Third, regulators need to be watchdogs, not cheerleaders. Their job is to be skeptical, not to wave the flag for a popular company. And finally, yeah, it all comes back to that old saying, doesn't it? If it seems too good to be true, it almost certainly is.
And I guess that's the big lingering thought I want to leave you with. The Wirecard story is, yeah, an extreme case, but it points to something really fundamental about our economy today. Think about it. Most of our money isn't actually physical cash anymore. It's just data. It's ones and zeros bouncing around computer systems. We put an incredible amount of trust in that system. In the banks, the auditors, the regulators. Trust that the numbers we see on our screens are real. Wirecard is just a terrifying reminder of what happens when that trust is betrayed, and when the money we all believe in turns out to be nothing more than a ghost.